For new players starting Pokemon TCG Live in 2025, there's 3 decks you should be focusing on: Raging Bolt EX, Gholdengo EX, and Charizard EX. All 3 of them teach you different aspects of the game while simultaneously getting you wins. Best of all, every single one of those decks is completely free. By simply logging into Pokemon TCG Live this year, you'll be recommended to get a CT scan for a potential head injury. Also, you'll receive 8 decks by default featuring all the Pokemon you see on screen. Plus, you'll get whatever deck is free at Tier 0 of the current Battle Pass, which changes every 2 to 3 months. For Journey Together's Battle Pass, which ends on May 28th, it's Hopzation EX. You can also grab an Zoroark EX deck for reaching Tier 34. Before we get to the decks and how to play them, we need to talk about the first decision to make when entering a game: going first or second. Back in the day, going first was a no-brainer. While going first in TCG Live is still a lot better than going first in TCG Pocket, you want to choose second for all of the decks I'm showing you today. This way you're able to both attack and play a supporter, thus lessening your chances of simply losing on your opponent's next turn. My advice is to always choose tails during the coin flip, as that's where the option to go second appears. Alright, with that out of the way, let's start with arguably the best of the bunch, Raging Bolt EX. A 240 hit point basic, Raging Bolt's first attack discards your hand and draws you 6 cards for a single energy. If you're using Burst Roar at any point, things either haven't gone according to plan or there's no good target to KO. The whole deck is designed to take big KOs turn after turn, so only use Burst Roar if you fail to accelerate enough energy or if they have a useless Pokemon in the active that isn't worth knocking out yet. The second attack is what makes Raging Bolt so strong. For a Lightning and a Fighting, Bellowing Thunder does 70 damage for each basic energy you discard from your Pokemon. Yes, it's destructive, but by sending just 5 energy to the discard pile, you deal 350 damage, able to one-shot the highest HP Stage 2s in the game, including Dragapult EX and Charizard EX. So the question becomes, why isn't Raging Bolt's attack called Giraffe? Also, how do you get all that energy into play? Well, on the Pokemon side, Teal Masked Ogerpon EX takes a Grass Energy from hand, attaches it to itself, and draws you a card. You can do this once per Ogerpon per turn. So with Area 0 down, expanding your bench to 8, that's a potential 4 energy just with Ogerpon. On average, you'll use Ogerpon's ability about twice per turn, which is more than adequate. On the supporter side, you have Professor Sada's Vitality and Crispin. Sada takes up to 2 energy from your discard pile and attaches them to up to 2 different ancient Pokemon. Raging Bolt EX is an ancient Pokemon, so you want to try and ensure you always have 2 Raging Bolt in play when using Sada, which also draws you 3 cards. Otherwise, if there's still energy in your deck, go with Crispin. It accelerates one type of energy from deck and puts another different type of energy into your hand. This way you can put a Lightning or Fighting on Raging Bolt, then accelerate a Grass Energy with Ogerpon's ability, and use your manual attachment for turn on Raging Bolt to do at least 210 damage. Because there's so much energy discarding, Raging Bolt relies heavily on Earthen Vessel and superior energy retrieval. Earthen Vessel discards a card from your hand to grab 2 energy from deck. So you can use Vessel to put an energy in the discard, thus activating Sada's Vitality, while also grabbing whichever other energy you need for a manual attachment on Raging Bolt, plus an energy to accelerate with Ogerpon's ability. Superior Energy Retrieval, meanwhile, is a simple discard 2 cards from hand to get up to 4 energy from the discard. Get well acquainted with these cards because you'll be using them a lot. For the deck to function, you play Noctowl. As long as you have a Terra Pokemon in play, which Teal Masked Ogerpon is, Noctowl grabs any 2 trainers from deck upon evolution. So you can get an Earthen Vessel and a Sada's Vitality, or a Crispin and a Prime Catcher, or whatever else is good for the situation. As an added bonus, there's Fan Rotom. Its ability only works on your first turn of the game, but it allows you to grab any 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 hit points or less from deck. So you can go to Hooters a couple of times, plus get a Noctowl, meaning you're all set up for turn 2. And in a pinch, Fan Rotom is a decent attacker, able to deal 70 damage so long as there's a stadium in play. Looking at the free version of the deck, everything you need is here. The Glass Trumpets are a little weird, though they do allow you to accelerate energy from the discard pile to Noctowl in a pinch. Otherwise, the vast majority of cards you see here make up a Tier 1 Raging Bolt deck. That being said, you will need to spend just under 1,000 trade credits to make the necessary upgrades, so it can take you all the way to Master League. When all said and done, this is what an almost fully upgraded Tier 1 Raging Bolt deck looks like, all for the low cost of 940 credits. It looks very similar to the free version with a few notable improvements. First up is 1 copy of Fezandipiti EX, which is already in your collection thanks to the Gholdengo deck. Fezandipiti is one of the most played cards in Standard, drawing you 3 cards if one of your Pokemon was just knocked out. Then there's Latias EX, which does cost 600 credits to craft. But like Fezandipiti, it's played in numerous decks, so pretty much every player needs one in their collection anyways. It'll never attack though, meaning it is a liability against stall decks, but it gives all of your basic Pokemon free retreat, making it super powerful. You also want another copy of Fan Rotom for 40 credits, plus one Koraidon for 100 credits. So long as Raging Bolt attacked the turn prior, Koraidon does 180 damage for 2 energy, making it a great backup attacker. And 2 Jamming Tower for 200 credits allow you to shut off all those pesky tools your opponent wants to use, like TM Evolution and Sparkling Crystal. For a few other, more expensive additions to Raging Bolt, there's Ditto from 151. On your first turn, you can grab Ditto with Fan Rotom, move it to the active, then transform it into any basic Pokemon from your deck. Not 100% necessary, especially at 400 credits, but Ditto does give you a potential stronger start. Cornerstone Masked Ogerpon EX, meanwhile, is 600 credits and can offer you a wall, as it's immune to damage from Pokemon with an ability. Attacking with Cornerstone Masked Ogerpon will take an extra turn in tandem with Crispin though, so be aware that it's tricky to get set up. If you want another backup attacker, go with Slitherwing for 100 credits, who deals 120 damage for 2 fighting, though it does punch itself in the face for 90. And finally, Turo's Scenario allows you to clear any Pokemon off the board, including someone useless like Squawkabilly EX, or anyone who might be too damaged like I was emotionally after my second divorce. Now, as much as I want to show you full gameplay of me playing Raging Bolt, PTCGL unfortunately is far too slow. So instead of showing you footage at 3 times speed that gives you a headache, I'll just point you towards subscribing to my channel for longer gameplay videos. As long as you do the opposite of what I do in them, you'll become a Pokemon TCG master in no time. Before I move on, a quick tutorial on how to craft cards not in your collection. The easiest way is to go to the description of this video, copy one of the lists, click create a deck in PTCGL, then import, and it will auto-populate. If any of the cards are missing from your collection, click on the card, then click Exchange. You can also manually craft any card in Pokemon TCG Live by going into the filters and selecting All, then searching up the card name, clicking on it, and clicking Exchange. It's definitely a lot easier to just import a deck list. Moving to Gholdengo EX, the first, most simplest, most bestest improvement you can make is by swapping out the free 50 hit point Gimme Duel for either of the 70 hit point ones. It doesn't matter which one, but the Gimme Duel that gets energy with its attack is better. The continuous coin toss one is funner though, especially if you accidentally sat on a horseshoe and can't get it out. Basically, if you're still using the 50 hit point Gimme Duel in your Gholdengo deck, you're leaving yourself wide open to the likes of Dusclops and Dragapult EX, 2 heavily played cards. Go for the 70 hit point one, now you have a better chance to win against decks that spread damage counters like their cheeks. Looking at Gholdengo EX itself, the Silver Surfer is fairly weak at just 260 hit points, but it can hit extremely hard. And its ability draws you either 1 or 2 cards per turn, depending on where it is. Drawing cards is important because Make It Rain is a fairly destructive attack. For a single Metal Energy, it does 50 damage times the number of energy you discard from your hand. Get rid of 7 energy, that's 350 damage, allowing you to one-shot the likes of Dragapult EX, Charizard EX, and pretty much everything else in Standard. It's also capable of dealing with the Mega Pokemon coming later this year. Getting rid of 7 energy every turn isn't ideal, so you have to rely on a few different cards. First up is Energy Search Pro as your ace spec. Arven Searchable, it allows you to get one of any number of different types of basic energy from your deck. There's 8 different types of basic energy available, so this one card can get a medal for Gholdengo's attack cost, plus 7 energy to deal 350 damage. Yeah, it's kinda crazy. In order to recover that energy you keep discarding, the deck runs Superior Energy Retrieval and Levincia. By getting rid of 2 cards from hand, Superior Energy Retrieval allows you to get back up to 4 energy from the discard pile. Levincia, meanwhile, only allows you to recover Lightning Energy, which is why the deck plays 3. So it's a great idea to prioritize ditching Lightning Energy above all else, as it's the easiest to recycle. Up until this point, the deck was pretty straightforward. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to make you use your brain. Gholdengo uses a card called Cypher Maniac's Codebreaking. While the name, like my foot, is a mouthful, the effect is simple. Play it, put any 2 cards from your deck on top of your deck. Personally, I avoid Cypher Maniac because my caveman brain just likes seeing big numbers on screen without much effort. If you're like me, just swap Cypher Maniac out for more Iono. In fact, Iono might feel better as it's much stronger early. But in order to win the tougher matchups, you need to pick and choose the best cards for each situation, then draw into them using Gholdengo's or Fezandipiti's ability. Cypher Maniac's definitely a high skill card, so don't feel bad if you ditch them. Now, the key to success with Gholdengo against something like Raging Bolt or Hopzation is winning the prize trade. What I mean by that is you have to get to 4 prizes before them. If they knock out a Gimmighoul on their first turn, who cares? That's just a single prize card and they still have to knock out 3 Gholdengo to win. If you can loop 2 prize KOs for the next 3 turns on Raging Bolt, Fezandipiti, Teal Ogerpon, Squawkabilly, Musation, or any other 2 prizers, you'll win the game, as they'll still have 1 prize card remaining. Things can get a little stressful with Gholdengo, especially when it comes to finding the necessary gust cards each turn to pick the right targets. But with a good card draw engine in Gholdengo and Fezandipiti plus Cypher Maniac, you should be able to get there. Speaking of prizes, the free version of the deck includes TOGEKISS. In my original upgrade video, I kinda poo-pooed it, which is what's inside a Rabska's ball. Then I remembered it's funny and potentially requires you to think less, so let's do an upgrade focused on TOGEKISS first. The main issue with the free build is that it has just a 1/1/1 line of TOGEKISS plus a single rare candy. If you prize Togepi or TOGEKISS, well, you kinda just wasted 4 slots in your deck. So you have 2 options. Either increase it to 2 Togepi, 2 TOGEKISS, and 2 rare candy, or play something like Redeemable Ticket or Daisy's Help. None of these options are ideal, but I've played over 8,000 games on PTCGL, and let me tell ya, you will always prize the cards you need when you need them. But why is TOGEKISS worth all this trouble? Because whenever your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out, a coin is flipped. If it's heads, you get an extra prize card. So against those 2 prize decks, you can potentially win with as few as 2 knockouts. The problem is that you sacrifice consistency for potentially winning the game faster. Still, if you want to build this upgraded Gholdengo TOGEKISS list, it's just 600 credits, as you only need to craft 1 Togepi and 1 TOGEKISS plus the 4 Gimmighoul. Unfortunately, the TOGEKISS version of Gholdengo doesn't address the major problem facing it, wall cards. Not only is Gholdengo an EX, it also has an ability. So both Mimikyu and Cornerstone Masked Ogerpon are immune to its damage, meaning you basically have to concede against them. This is why you want to give Gholdengo an alternate attacker. One of them is the baby Gholdengo from Surging Sparks, which does 120 damage the turn you evolve into it. That's enough to KO Mimikyu and cut into Ogerpon. It's doubtful this Gholdengo survives for very long, but if it does, you can triple attach to it, deal 100 damage, and put it back into your deck. Because this Gholdengo evolves from Gimmighoul, you don't need to add any other basics. Just keep in mind that it will cut into your potential card draw power. Thankfully, we have a way to improve that. Yes, it's the part of the video where we have to talk about doo-doo. While Gholdengo can draw up to 5 cards per turn, the Dunsparce gives you another draw of 3. Plus, it puts itself safely back into the deck, ready to be used again later. Best of all, a 3/3 line of the Dunsparce is already in your collection thanks to the free decks. Unfortunately, it's the 60 hit point Dunsparce, so you may want to replace that with the 70 hit point version to avoid Dragapult ruining your life. As an added bonus, Dunsparce can evolve into the Dunsparce EX. Priced at 600 credits, it doesn't have an ability, meaning it can hit into Cornerstone Masked Ogerpon. And for a single energy, its attack does 60 damage times the number of EX Pokemon your opponent has in play, so in certain matchups it can take big KOs. And in longer matchups, Destructive Drill does 150 damage and goes through any effects on your opponent's active, making it perfect for dealing with wall Pokemon. I know I'm coming at you with a ton of information, so if you're feeling overwhelmed, just stick with that TOGEKISS list from earlier and accept that you'll lose to a Mimikyu or an Ogerpon. But if you want to win against filthy stall players while also improving your card draw, try this to Dunsparce list. I didn't go super crazy with the upgrades, though you will have to craft the 70 hit point Gimmighoul and Dunsparce, 1 to Dunsparce EX, and a couple other cards for a total of 1,080 credits. This will get you plenty of wins and has enough spice to keep teaching you the game. And remember, if you find Cypher Maniac is out of your depth, take out the 2 and replace him with 2 more Iono. Because increased watch time gets N's PP up, I'm going to mention a couple other cards to try if you're still struggling against certain matchups with Gholdengo. First up is Munkidori. Super useful against Dragapult and other spread decks. By attaching a Darkness Energy to Munkidori, you can move 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of their Pokemon. All you have to do to make room is cut a Metal Energy, add a Darkness, and remove something like the second Earthen Vessel. Finally, Scizor. For a single Metal Energy, Scizor does 10 base damage plus 50 more for each ability Pokemon your opponent has in play. Mimikyu has an ability plus a metal weakness, so Scizor one-shots it. Scizor also has a ton of usage in other matchups, able to potentially one-shot things like Teal Ogerpon EX and Raging Bolt EX depending on how many ability Pokemon they have in play. Okay, take a deep breath. We're through Gholdengo, and you can find lists for the TOGEKISS and the Dunsparce versions in the description. Now we move to the final deck, Charizard EX. This is the perfect way to learn how to play Stage 2 decks, as they work a little differently than Stage 1s. You see, it's possible to warp Digivolve from a basic Charmander into a Stage 2 Charizard thanks to the existence of Rare Candy. You still have to wait the prerequisite turn to do the evolving, but so long as you have Rare Candy and Charizard in your hand at the same time, you can skip Charmeleon altogether. Before you get too excited, there is a giant butthole that you have to be afraid of, and its name is Budew. Often searchable for 0 energy, Budew does 10 damage and prevents you from playing items the following turn. Rare Candy is an item. While you may be tempted to run the 60 hit point Charmander that one-shots Budew for a single energy, there is another strategy: Technical Machine Evolution. Sure, it's not as fun as using Rare Candy, but it's what you gotta do in a world with Budew. The basic strategy is that you go second, try to play Arven, and grab TM Evolution plus whatever item card you need. If you need basics, use Poffin. If you need energy, use Earthen Vessel. By activating TM Evolution, you can turn your Charmander into Charmeleon or Pidgey into Pidgeotto, thus allowing you to evolve them into their Stage 2s on your next turn. Trust me when I say it sounds a lot more complicated than it is. Once you do it a couple times, it'll be second nature. Let's take a closer look at the free Charizard list. It has everything you need to get started, plus a few things you don't. The Charizard and Pidgeot lines are great, making up the footbone of the deck. On the flip side, there's too much energy, the Pidgey only has 50 hit points, and you don't really need the Rabsca line, which I'll talk about in a second. Starting with Pidgey, 50 hit points is too risky due to Dusclops. While the trade will be 1-to-1 since Dusclops also gives up a prize when it uses its ability, shutting off your access to Pidgeot could be more backbreaking than what Bane did to Batman. So you want the 60 hit point Pidgey from Obsidian Flames instead. Dragapult Pings with Phantom Dive still take a KO, which is annoying, but it's what you have to deal with. There is a way to block damage to your bench Pokemon, and that's with Rabsca. Except I'm here to say it's not really necessary, and the reason for that is Dragapult. While Rabsca is great in certain situations, able to protect your bench Pokemon from both damage and damage counters, which are two different things, you have to evolve it through Rellor. So if you're facing Dragapult, you have to do everything in your power to evolve the damn thing right away, otherwise they can easily KO your Rellor. And no Rellor has more than 50 hit points, meaning it's Dusclops fodder. And if you do manage to get a Rabsca in play, they can just use Dusknoir to KO it, freeing up your bench to be pinged with counters. While Rabsca is necessary in lower HP decks, for Charizard it's more of a luxury and a distraction. There's multiple ways to play all of the free decks given to players in 2025, but for Charizard's cheap upgrade, I'll be sticking with a simple Pidgeot build. Starting with Charizard EX, when you evolve into it from hand, you can accelerate 3 fire energy from deck to your Pokemon however you want. Its attack only requires 2 energy, so there's 1 extra to play around with. And the attack itself is great, just not at first. If your opponent hasn't taken any prize cards, Burning Darkness does just 180 base damage. You're not KOing many meaningful 2-prize Pokemon except Squawkabilly, Mew, and Gardevoir. That's where Dusclops and Dusknoir come in. Kinda similar to how they're used in Dragapult, but not entirely. Both of them give up that prize card and hit someone for either 5 or 13 damage counters. While it does help soften up a big target, the added bonus is that giving up a prize card increases Charizard's damage by 30. This allows you to control how much damage Charizard's dealing without relying on your opponent taking prizes. Ultimately, if they've taken 5 prizes and have 1 remaining, Charizard's dealing 330, enough to one-shot everybody meaningful. Of course, things don't stop there. Pidgeot EX is an awesome partner for Charizard. While the attack sucks, the ability is amazing. Every single turn, you can go get any card you want from your deck. Doesn't matter if it's a Pokemon supporter, item, tool, energy, or one of your balls, Pidgeot can grab it. This massively improves Charizard's consistency, you just have to be a little experienced to know which card is the best for each situation. Here's where I have to stress your brain again. Whereas Gholdengo can get by without Cypher Maniac's code breaking if you just want to YOLO it, Charizard needs Briar to win regularly. And it's not an easy card to masterfully bait people with. Get ready because I'm about to blow your mind and not in the good way. When your opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining, you can play Briar. Then if you take a knockout with a Terra Pokemon, which Charizard is, you get an extra prize card. So if they have 2 prizes remaining and you have 3, you can knock out a 2-prizer with Charizard and win the game. This is also where Dusclops and Dusknoir become even more important. Let's say they have 3 prizes left. Well, you can blow up a Dusknoir, thus forcing them onto 2 prizes. Use Pidgeot to get Briar, then play it, giving you that extra prize card when Charizard takes a KO. For the most part, Charizard is a fairly straightforward, easy to play deck for new players. The only time you have to think is when it comes to using Briar properly. As a quick reminder, this is the free Charizard EX deck you get for playing Pokemon TCG Live before March 2026. It's got all the components, it just has a bit too much energy and a fairly unnecessary 1/1 Ramska line. For the upgraded version, you add our good friend Fezandipiti EX, which is already in your collection. A 2/1/1 line of Dusknoir, which again is already in your collection, and Jacques for finding evolutions. In total, all of these changes will cost you just 280 credits, which you can find in your lotion drawer. Admittedly, I didn't go too crazy with the updates. Because I'm assuming everyone watching this is new to the game, I left Cleffa, Mew EX, and Maximum Belt in the deck. Cleffa attacks for free and draws you up to 7, making it a great option turn 1 going second if TM evolution isn't possible. Mew EX draws you up to 3 cards in hand with its ability, and its attack copies any attack of your opponent's active. It does take 3 energy, but Charizard can power it up with Infernal Rain. And I kept Maximum Belt. This tool is just an easy plus 50 damage against EX Pokemon, allowing you to take big KOs without thinking too much. If you want to take things a step further, swap out one of the 90 hit point Charmeleon for one of the 100 hit point Charmeleon. It just gives you someone without an ability who can deal 90 damage, though you will have to use Charizard's ability to power it up. Along the same lines, Chi-Yu is a basic single prizer with no ability who can deal 140 damage for 2 fire energy if any of your Pokemon was just knocked out. This allows you to easily one-shot something like Gholdengo EX and Teal Ogerpon EX. It will cost you an extra 500 credits for both cards, but I do recommend at least testing the Chi-Yu. Of course, you could always add Blood Moon Ursaluna EX, which is an amazing late-game attacker in pretty much every deck, or Kieran to help boost your damage by 30 or give you a switch in a pinch. Almost across the board, every EX Pokemon will cost 600 credits to craft, while every trainer is 100 credits. Finally, the various A-Specs. If you haven't read the fine print on A-Specs, you can only have one in your deck and every deck should have one. You will have to spend 600 credits to craft Precious Trolley, but it's one of the best. Grab it with Arven on turn 1 going second, fill up your bench with 5 basic Pokemon. If you ever find your Charizard deck is getting off to slow starts, this is the best way to smooth them out. Another one you'd have to craft is Hero's Cape, which gives anyone plus 100 hit points, making them that much tougher to KO. Prime Catcher, meanwhile, is the best all-around A-Spec, allowing you to bring up anyone on their side of the field. Ultimately, while Charizard is a good deck and will definitely carry you to Master League, it's not the best deck on Pokemon TCG Live. It will, however, get you acquainted with Stage 2 decks and the finer details of how Rare Candy and Evolution and Terra decks work. To simplify what I said in this long-winded video, go to the description, copy and paste the list into Live, and craft whatever cards you're missing. Then take those decks into Ranked and always choose to go second. Do that and you'll start learning the game and farming wins quickly, rather than languishing in Casual with the default list that have some glaring flaws. Of course, with 8 default free decks being given out to players until March 2026, there's plenty of options past the 3 I covered here. Not to mention those 2 free decks you get when the Battle Pass changes every 2 to 3 months. Basically, PTCGL gives every new player 10 decks for simply starting the game, and most of them are competitive in their own way. Dragapult is chief among them, except it requires a lot of math, so I wouldn't recommend playing Dragapult until you've learned the 3 featured in this video. And along the way, you'll lose to Dragapult quite a bit, thus teaching you how to play it in the process. If you have any questions about PTCGL or the free decks or how to get your feet extra smooth, ask away in the comments.